Hey guys, this is Dennis Stanley with LindseyJones University here. For all of you RT instructors and directors and program directors and clinical education coordinators, I want to just take a few minutes and show you how you can use LindseyJones University in a very interesting way to drastically increase the pass rates of your students on the NBRC exam, and also just to increase their scores across the board on the exam. We have a very unique way of doing that, but first I want to tell you before I show you this is that LindseyJones has perhaps the best understanding of what questions are like on the exam. For one, we've been doing it for 30 years, and we've written so many questions that we know how to look at areas of the matrix, and we know how those will probably present with high probability on the exam. And so if we write questions that are very much like the exam, then when you look at our questions, or when your students look at our questions, they have a much greater ability to learn the feel and the cognitive requirement for that question. So when they get on the exam, they're prepared. And so because of that, LindseyJones University has a database of thousands of questions, none of which were written just for fun. They were all written because we're trying to simulate a specific type of thing we're seeing on the exam. Well, if that's true, then what you can do is you can go in and look at these questions on our LindseyJones University account, and you can look at the questions and decide where areas that you might be missing and what you could add to your syllabi in your courses in order to make up any deficits and better prepare your students for the NBRC exam. So let's take a peek and I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about here. Now, if you haven't used LindseyJones University and have never seen it, this will also be kind of a glimpse for you to look into it a little bit. Now, I am going to log in as if I was a coordinator. And this is, if you have an account, this is what you're used to doing already. So I'll just log in here. So this is the screen that you're used to seeing. And you have your students over here, and you have your licensing, your activity logs. You certainly can go in here and control access to TMC exams and also to the clinical simulations. Down here you have the assignment board, managing cohorts, so you can look at their information a little bit differently. So this is what you're used to seeing. You also have the ability to go take a TMC practice exam, but we're not going to use that facility. I'm going to show you a different way. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use the Add Student feature and add yourself as an actual student momentarily anyway. And if you don't have that button there, just call us. We'll help you with that and we can get you in. But now I'm going to sign back out. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to get all our instructors together that teach several courses, and we're going to sit down together and we're going to look at some questions together. Okay, and so I'm just going to log in with a kind of a fake student here account. If I can get that in there. Okay, and then so we're going to enter the TMC CS area, and so this is a student account. Now the student accounts that you have may have more or less than this because we've got the whole seminar with this, but invariably somewhere on there you're going to be able to start practicing a TMC exam, and so that's what I'll do now. Now, if you've been in here and you've seen what a student can do, what you'll notice is that they have the ability to go ahead and start any of the forms that you have opened up, but they also have the ability to take an exam that focuses perhaps on a weak area. So let's just say with your group, you've had a weak area that you've identified. Let's say it's in equipment and it's perform quality control procedures. By the way, that's the #1 weak area of equipment. If you're interested, and I always am, the #1 weak area in the nation, not only on LindseyJones University, but for the NBRC exam, appears to be in Intervention Section E, ensure modifications are made to the respiratory care plan. So it's really great to go in there and look at those questions and see what they're really all about. It might surprise you what those are doing. But we're going to pretend today that perform quality control procedures is our weak area in our group. And how do I know that? Well, I may see that from LindseyJones University, some of the statistical numbers and detect that, but you might also be able to see that from your COARC report. You might have several areas in your COARC report that are correlated with these subject areas on the national exam that are below national average or that are just not where you want them to be. So today we're going to just pretend that it's perform quality control procedures. We're going to select that, and what we're doing here is we're going to look at just the answers from that section. I say the answers, but I mean the questions and the answers. Now here it is, it's generated how many questions. It went to the database and it has given me all questions in the database about the subject. There happens to be 48. That's a lot of questions on quality control, considering you only get just a few per exam. We're looking at the whole database. Our purpose here now is to look at these questions and decide as instructors to what degree we're teaching what's in this question. So you might read a question and the instructor that teaches this might say, yeah, I teach all of that, but I don't specifically teach that about this quality control for this blood gas. And so that instructor can then go back and add that very tiny amount of information to their syllabus, and by doing so, drastically change their students' ability to understand and perform on that question or a question like that on the NBRC exam. I say that question. We never write questions exactly like the NBRC. We certainly don't use their wording. We follow the ethical standard in that regard. But we've been doing this for 30 years, so we know how to write questions that are very, very similar in cognitive value and phraseology and verbiage that is similar, so that they feel like they've been there and they've done that before by the time they get on the exam. Okay, and so you might go through these questions. You might think that one's fine, and I'm just paging through the questions. And maybe I get to this one and I read it and I think, oh, I'm the one that teaches that class, but I don't teach about the 2 standard deviation thing. I don't know what that would be, but I need to emphasize that a little bit more. I'm going to show you another little technique. You can go through the questions like this, or you can actually exit and then go to the review the exam. And now we're looking at the same questions, only this time I can scroll down and I can actually see the explanation. So sometimes as instructors, that's a great handy tool, just to look at the question, decide, do you really teach that? But then go down to the explanation and decide if there's more information there that is implied or inferred or just written straight out that you're not quite covering. So what we see is that instructors that go through this and may make very small changes to their syllabi can make a huge and drastic difference in the way their students perform on the NBRC exam. So I hope that's been helpful to you, but it's just a very unique way of using LindseyJones University to help your students.